Hey guys, Stealth here. We're back on Bloody Ridge, and this time we're looking over the shoulder of Wingren 013, which I'm going to call Wingren or Win from now on. He's operating here with 3 teammates, except that right at the start of the game, Chi left, or China someone. So the guy who was supposed to take this sector between Echo and India is now gone. And that means that there's going to be a little bit more load on guest filer Alex White and Wingren, as they're fighting Lindstrom, Lobo, General Siesta, and Hertigan. Now in this situation, Wingren is using a East Germany mechanized deck. This is not something that you see very often. It's usually a combination of, I call them Eastfor or the Eastern Bloc, which is the Czech Republic, Poland and East Germany combined. But if you combine, or if you merely take East Germany, you're going to get a little bit more availability on some units. And with that you can do some very interesting things. Now in this replay he wrote that he's going to effectively use the speed and firepower of my East German deck, or East German mechanized deck, to quickly take territory and then harass the enemy to prevent them from advancing any further. It's a prime example of the advantage of a mechanized deck as well as the use of air support. So let's see what we can learn from this replay. Now he's setting up to go to the right, so he's taking off this road, which is, I think, by far the best. You could take this road and then go that way, but usually, for some reason, vehicles in my gameplays always go up the road, overshoot the intersection, turn around and thought, oh yeah, I had to go right, and they turn to the right anyway. It's going to cost you some time, and they hopefully won't have that problem here. Now keep in mind, it is a conquest game, so it's not a destruction game. He can afford to lose some more units, and they do need to capture terrain quickly. So let's see how they're going to go about doing that. Seems that they have a command infantry set up already. He was really quick to offload that. Now before I'm going to progress any further, I want to highlight this. It's perfectly okay to have command infantry, but please move your command transport away. Because what I found in the last couple of games is that the command infantry has good stealth. These guys are actually pretty hard to find. A Ural has poor stealth. If I find a Ural or other transport truck by itself sitting somewhere in the forest, I'm usually going, okay, that's where the command infantry has to be. So if you want to do something like this, if you want to have a command infantry either here or in any other sector, move their logistics unit away. Move that transport, for example, to that forest. Suicide it, especially a 5-point transport in this conquest game. Doesn't matter if it dies or lives. Just don't keep it next to your CV, because it can get you killed. Now he's pushing up quickly. First off, an air superiority fighter, the MiG-23ML. And with these he's going to quickly drop off forces, but I'm wondering to see where. And it looks like he's going to be operating in this section. I'm thinking that these might be FJBs. That's what I would be dropping off here. Yeah, 2 squads of FJB. And he's not taking off the helicopters again. Interesting choice. Oh, there they go. So with this he can quickly shoot down any helicopters as they come over this region. With their RPG 7V they can do some damage to armored vehicles, but the range to this road is already bigger than 700, so they're not going to be effective at taking out that target. By the way, looking at the minimap, there's something interesting happening on the left flank. Gesfeller is scouting around, or just completely flying around, and if he can neutralize this command zone, this is going to be one very quick game. The question is, can you do it? Because in a conquest game you usually have a ton of points, a ton of income, and with that it's going to be difficult to get this and hold this zone long enough to make sure that these helicopters, and especially this one, can land their command infantry. Now because Gasfiler went across this sector, they are not putting up a defense in Ivan. And that is where the Chinese guy was supposed to go. So this is worrying. And Alex White is jumping in to get some stuff to set up, well, small defense here. They probably don't have enough points to do anything. And you can see that Hertigan smells some weakness in this sector and is already pushing up with a couple of transports. Now over here on the right we have Wingren, who has arrived with a couple of transports, so BMP-2s, KPZ T-72s, and a couple of AA units. Interesting thing here, he is not sitting around. This is something that someone once wrote on my channel separates the great players from the average players. If you realize that you're not engaging the enemy, you have some forces sitting out in the back doing nothing. So that means that they either have a defensive line, which is not really necessary over here, or you could be using those forces to engage the enemy, and that's what he's doing. And considering there's a gun tank and an LVTP-7 here, this is a, I think South Korean, no, Blue Dragon's deck. And if he can get these guys in quick enough, this infantry is going to make it very difficult for them to reclaim this area. He's already pushing it with motor Schützen, killing off the BGS. But let's see how this is going. Wow, they pulled it off. They managed to neutralize this command zone. But by the looks of it, I think their command infantry died. The question is, did the Bluefor CV escape? Or did they kill it off? Interesting. I think that there's a CV... No, that's not a CV, that's a transport. Let's just see where it is. Yep, they managed to kill it. And that's why I saw the transport. See, this is what I meant. I could see that transport. I could not see the command infantry, but because there was one lonely truck, I went, what's that? But this is their attempt to pull this back as soon as possible in order to get their command zone back. They want to have control of Anna, otherwise they can no longer bring in reinforcements. Over here on the right there's a pretty significant battle going on with Redfor being able to bring in reinforcements. As you can see, he's bringing in a couple of Tunch mortars. But Bluefor cannot bring in any reinforcements other than what they have in the game at the moment. Surprisingly, that only now Redfor is starting to gain points, probably because now they captured this sector, and by the looks of it, that might not last long. With a couple of these STRVs here, but the VDV are doing an excellent job taking those vehicles out. Or STRFs, by the way, not STRVs. Wow. Guestfiler is really going hunting today. Look at that, he found another CV, and hopefully he can manage to kill it off. That would really help them out. Yep, it's exploded. It's dead. And maybe at the expense of a couple of good choppers. But they no longer have control of Elena. They have taken control again of Anna. So this is a sector that they can now use to reinforce their own units. But it's going to take them some time to get those units to the front line, and in that time Redfor can hopefully push up far enough to make a significant difference. But you can see that Redfor does have to recover from a pretty significant difference in points here. This is because they didn't capture the zones as quickly as Bluefor did. And yeah, the command infantry is running. I think that if China would have been here, that would have been a completely different game. You could still have someone defending this area, you can still have that helicopter push going around the flank, and you would probably have had a different game in the sense that Redfor would be leading by points and had possibly neutralized and continuously neutralized Anna. Now over here, a couple of these motor Schützen got killed off. I'm not entirely sure what happened here as I was watching the other side of the map. But they have managed to take control of this town. This longbow is going to make it very difficult for them to advance though, as the Flakcoms have a range of 2600, which is less than the range of that Apache, which has a range of 2800 meters. So with that, they're going to be pretty damn careful pushing up here. But hopefully they can find the command vehicle. FKP is being offloaded here, but they're not moving. So they're just getting wiped out by these autocannons. And you can see that this Apache is just casually picking off all of these transport. There goes another one. But in this situation, I suppose you could say the transports don't really matter, in the sense that the objective has been accomplished. They have taken control of this zone, or at least of this town, and once you're in this town it's going to be pretty damn difficult for Bluefor to kick them out. Now let's see. I saw something get destroyed here. This is a Bluefor Lynx. They might have been trying their own flanking maneuver, but luckily got shot down. Otherwise this would have been a completely different game. And they might have lost that command zone, especially those smirches would have been a big loss, as well as the MSTAs. Now let's see what they're smirching. They're engaging the fobs and this part of the forest. But is there anything there? Nothing. Bit of a waste there. Especially considering that they're firing so many smirches at the same position. I find that if you use the smirch, perfect, go ahead, but don't fire it all at the same position. Fire, for example, one over here to hit or damage vehicles that are hiding in these forests or tree lines. Hit one over here, and the other one, for example, on this center or over there. You don't know what kind of command vehicle they were bringing back, although I suppose you could venture a guess when you saw that TGB move back. And I'm not sure why there's a command tank coming up this road and not just right down the middle. But he's going to take the long way around and hide in this sector. They have seen that with the Formosas, and hopefully they can engage that thing before it arrives. Now I gotta say, it's an interesting game, because normally you're going to have a very big engagement in this town between Elena and Ivan. This is not happening at this point, but usually the standoff zone on this flank between Gregory and what's this one? Center, I think. It's hard to see with all these units in the way. Between Gregory and Center there's usually a standoff. This is usually where you have some infantry in this town, some more infantry on the other side by the other team. You can see some mortar fire being exchanged between the towns, but that's it. This thing is different. This game they're actually engaging each other, and Bluefor managed to lose this town to the advance of Wingren, so he did a great job pushing there. And it's a good thing that 813 is coming in, because most of these units have either taken significant losses or are completely out of ammo, like the Strelas on the FJB 40s. This ADATS is apparently volunteering to sacrifice. Let's see, it's shooting down these Hinds. Yeah, there's another hit. And another one. And the mortars are starting to shell this logistics unit. If that thing goes up, you're going to have a major fireball in your town. Ooh, not with that tank driving by. This is gonna hurt. If they fire off another salvo, this thing's done. Look at that, 1 HP remaining. Don't be fooled, by the way, in the sense that this thing has 1700 supplies and it has nothing left. It will not explode. It will still explode in quite the significant fireball, probably wounding the FJB or at least stunning them. There you go. Oh, it was less than I thought. It didn't hurt them as much. Now Bluefor is trying to make a comeback here. A couple of Milans coming in. I think that these units were ordered quite some time ago, as they have a pretty long lead time coming over this bridge, going through Anna, Boris, and then finally arriving. Because they don't really need AA here. I know that Milan, AMX-10P Milans are not exactly AA units, but these 3 AA teams that you see here are, and I'm not sure why they are out here. Maybe they were here to counter those Hinds, which got taken down already by the ADATs. Now, Redfor managed to capture some more zones, so they're leading by +2. But they still have quite the distance to catch up to that 190 points. And, oh dear, look at that. Somebody send a seed plane, please. MiG-23 managed to make it out alive, but the MiG-25 RBF got taken down. And I'm thinking that that was a bomber. You can see that over here on the left flank, and Ivan Bluefor has taken control. They are pushing up with Spetsnaz or trying to hold this forest as more reinforcements arrive. But Alex really has his hands full as he's operating the middle and the left flank. I'm not exactly sure where Guestfiler is at the moment. Possibly in the middle. Where are his units? He didn't quit, did he? Oh, he's operating the Smirches, possibly. The Smirches and the artillery. Yeah, now he's bringing in more recon units. I thought he'd left the game, but he's still here. And wow. This guy now probably knows exactly where this command infantry group is because they managed to destroy that command vehicle. And look how close these things are. Good thing that there's a BMPT arriving right now, because otherwise this game is going to be in a lot of trouble. They're already engaging them one-on-one. Come on, there they go. They're down, but they have now been spotted. So time to move. Hopefully before a bomber comes in. Or artillery, of course. Depending on what Bluefor has available at this stage. And meanwhile, Wingren over on the right is doing a flanking maneuver. He's not going into Fedor, it's not really that important, but Dimitri is one where they have a command zone and a command vehicle. So the command or the T-72s try to take out these Zippos as quickly as possible, but not before the Zippos manage to barbecue these FJBs. So time to move away here, and fast. Judging by the speed of these, they're probably wheeled vehicles. Yep, TOW 2, yeah, Laro TOW 2s. Good thing they're getting killed off by the tanks quickly, because they can almost one-shot these T-72s. There goes another one. Good shooting by this T-72, I gotta say, 75% accuracy. It's not bad for an 80-point tank, which starts out with an accuracy of 45. So you can really see how that veterancy is helping it out, and as these targets get closer, they're going to be even more accurate. As you can see, 87%. But they are running out of ammo. And I hope that they can make their way in here quickly. I'm not sure why... oh, this is why. I was going to say I'm not sure why they haven't captured Fedor yet. But there's a command vehicle, probably in this forest, probably command infantry, otherwise it's too easy to smirch. And it is interesting to see that these Formosas by Gesveiler over here are still alive. They are not doing damage directly, but indirectly by spotting everything that's coming in and making sure that Redfor has a counter or a possible counter or definitely enough time to counter. So really beneficial to have a reconnaissance unit here. Another good position I've found is over here. But you gotta have at least very good stealth. Otherwise the units that are going to travel down this road might actually spot you. Especially if some good to exceptional recon vehicle comes by. You're gonna have to pull back. But if you're quick enough, and I have shown this off in several replays already. At the beginning of the game, you can go over here with a with a helicopter with reconnaissance infantry, drop them off, and tell the recon infantry to start walking. Because recon infantry usually has very good stealth. Sorry, it makes them very hard to spot or be spotted, and that is a lot safer than trying to fly a helicopter all the way here and then dropping them off. So drop them off here, have them walk across the open field, and then start hopping tree lines in order to either find a command vehicle or just spot whatever you can find. Now, Redfor is catching up quickly. They have a +2. I am still concerned about this Ivan. I did see some STR-121, so those are the Swedish super heavies, which might have made it to Elena or Ivan. I'm not sure how far they got, but Alex, there it is. Alex doesn't have a recon vehicle, I was going to say. And that means that these T-72s don't have a target, even as there is a target nearby. Talking about targets, they're trying to do a flanking maneuver here. What the hell? He's gearing up for another flank attack. That's bad news. The fact that these Lynxes are coming in is bad news, because it means that this helicopter force has now been spotted. It's the last thing you want. If you're building up an ambush, it's a good idea to build it up on the sides. But Bluefor just got lucky as they managed to flank and try to get eyes or drop off some forces here. Now, quite a bit going on in the center. They have managed to hold Cheriton for now, and they have managed to push up further into Fedor. They're now setting out a +3 advantage that are really ranking in the points now. You can see that he's bringing in some more Mi-24Ds. My guess would be more FJB-40s, but it could be reconnaissance infantry as well. And these T-72 M1s, as they're driving by, are killing off these STRF 9040s. More helicopters are being spawned in by Guestfiler. Look at that. Dude, you're going to have to hurry up because you're winning very heavily. You can see that even though the flight and missiles are not the best, versus a transport, like for example the 9040, they are still perfectly fine. These things have an AP power of 16, they penetrate 16 points of armor, and these things only have 4. So they're getting almost, no, they are getting one shot, because it goes through the 4 frontal armor and then damages the 10 hit points behind it. You can see some heavy, expensive tanks here, T-80U and a T-80BV. Please don't keep your tanks that close. I didn't know that was going to happen, but I could have guessed. This was a beautiful target for the ATA-CMS, and Bluefor called it precisely right. I think they must have spotted that with some other unit, or this is where they last saw the tanks and Alex just did not move them. If you have 100 or 120 point plus tanks, split them up. I know that there were 2 separate groups, if you will, 2 groups of 1, but have one tank sit over there and the other over there, because you're gonna get situations like this. Now, Panzerskite are never going to allow these FJB-40s to enter their town, so Redfor is going to have to come up with something else first. And hopefully they can make it behind the smoke screen, but the sheer amount of units here, I doubt that they're going to make it. One guy survived. You can see the amount of rocket pods coming down on this forest or town from the Mi-24P is getting quite insane. Pushing up with some tanks. Beautiful pushes every time, I gotta say. He's doing a really good job. They're coming in from the side, pushing onto this town here. Really good job by Wingren. And they have now completely superseded Bluefor in points. 340 versus 190. And either they're going to really rack up those points quickly, possibly by getting a +4 as they neutralize Dimitri, or Bluefor is going to quit, because we only got 3 minutes left on this replay. Dangerous combination here, Kiowa and an Apache, and the Kiowa is spotting, Apache is killing, but they are just getting outside of range of those Hellfires, except that one. Come on, get into the forest. Yep, he made it out. And it's a very dangerous position anyway. You got an Apache here on the right, and over on the left you got an M1A2, which can easily one-shot a T-72 if it shoots in the side. And considering that this thing was reversing in a pretty straight line, this M1A2 could get a very, very good shot at that T-72 flank. Here is another chopper rush or chopper flanking maneuver, depending on what you want to call it. I'm not sure why he went with only these helicopters while he has this huge force sitting here. But I think that Guestfiler would have been a much bigger help to the team if he hadn't stacked up his points here, but instead went into Ivan. I'm interested to see how many points he actually contributed to the team. I know that kill-death ratios aren't terribly important, but I do find them interesting to look at, especially in Conquest games, where people just sometimes throw their units away. They're still at the +3, and I think that we're not going to see any more offensives other than these helicopters. Formosas have now been spotted, and I think that they destroyed something, as I saw a blip here. I'm not entirely sure what that was. They're now at a +4, so they must have captured, or actually they neutralized this command zone. ATGMs coming in, slow ATGMs as well. Could these be the RBS 56? Yep, they're RBS 56. Slow, high AP, low range ATGMs. But you can see that they still do a ton of damage to these T-72s. One almost got one shot by those things. And unfortunately for the RBS, they have now run out of ammo. By the way, I just kind of guessed this, is because I've been playing Wargame for a long time. After you start playing this for a long time, you know more or less what the speed is for ATGMs. For example, you know that Arcan ATGMs are extremely fast. You know that Hellfires are fast. You know that RBS are pretty slow. So stuff like that can help you in determining what kind of unit you're facing without even seeing them. And Bluefor is now donating points, as you can see. They're relocating their CV here to put Bluefor or to put Redfor at a +5 advantage. They pulled out their CV here. They realize it's over. And the last thing that we're going to see here from Guestfiler is that he's being completely surrounded by transports. A couple of Fennec 20mm are also going to wreak havoc on these helicopters. And this helicopter push just never made it through. So, great game for Wingren. He did a good job. Look at that. He carried the team point-wise. Got the most command points, got the most kills, got the least losses compared to win-death ratio. Actually, win-death ratio percentage-wise, Guestfiler did a little bit better with 50% or 150%, depending on how you want to look at that. But I think, as I mentioned, that Guestfiler could have done a lot better had he not stacked up his forces like he did, but instead tried to go forward with those helicopters and try to capture that time between Ivan and Elena. Anyway, that's my take on it. I'm eager to see what's yours, so leave me a comment down below to tell me what you think of this game. Also, if you have a great replay, look in the description for my link where you can send in your replay, and I'll be happy to feature it on the channel. I haven't done national decks or national replays for a while because I just wasn't getting them. So I was very happy that Wingren 13 sent me this replay of only an East German mechanized deck. So if you have a good replay with a national deck sitting in your supplies for replays or your replay folder, send it in and I'll be happy to look at it. With that, it's the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.